There. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm from Turkey, Hacettepe University. I would like to learn whether the retrospective data will be available to this research.
You mean if we would reanalyze the samples that have already been analyzed for anti-drug antibodies, for example?
Yes.
That is a good question. Honestly, still under discussion. Yeah. This is, of course, one opportunity. This is, by the way, also one of the reasons why we would not use patient samples from the companies, because once a final result has been created within the companies, I mean, it's not easy to simply reanalyze the samples with another technology, for example, because you will create two valid results, and then at the end the question is which one is the final result. Yeah, this is still under discussion. In principle, yeah. I mean, that also depends upon would we also come to new technologies, for example, or innovative technologies for immunogenicity assays. But in theory, yes.
Thank you. There was a question down there first.
It's a very nice presentation.
Thanks.
I guess implicit in what you're saying, but I didn't hear it spelled out, would be some standards for these assays, because now you have these different groups. Let's take the neutralizing antibody controversies.
Right.
And they really don't have the same assays, and that might be a worthy addition that you might come out with some guidelines or SOPs. The other question was around the database. So will you consider standardizing that? So, and with critical path, we've spent a lot of time looking at CDISC standards that you may use within some companies, but that would certainly allow the data to be put together as the clinical phenotype.
Yeah, so the idea is, of course, I mean, I'm not the expert, honestly, on this database kind of things, but of course, the idea is also to standardize that in a way. I mean, honestly, the biggest challenge will be to standardize somehow the results of the anti-drug antibody assays, as you said, because, I mean, different assays are used for different compounds, and probably, I mean, it will be too challenging to really compare or standardize assays between different compounds. But what we can definitely probably achieve is within one class of compounds or something. So that is definitely also the idea behind to standardize this. But it also, honestly, will be a challenge.
Question there. Thank you.
Aldo Tagliabue, representing Novartis Vaccine. You focus everything on antibodies against the biologics, but for instance, the first case that you present is the anti-TNF blockers, and the major side effect is reactivation of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of adverse immune reaction, this could be considered also an adverse immune reaction.
Right.
Would you like to see fitting in the proposal, or do you think it's something completely different what you had in mind?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a sort of secondary effect, right? By neutralizing the drug, you gain something else. I mean, yeah, good question. I think in principle, yes, yeah.
And the comment is more for the officer. I think we represent the other side of the yin-yang, the immunogenicity of the vaccine that you need, the immunogenicity.
Yeah.
I think you can have a lot of inspiration and also maybe something to learn from the vaccine people. So I think at some point during the development of this project, it would be nice to have a meeting together or sitting around, because on our side is able to induce but we don't want to break tolerance and so on. Here you break tolerance. So maybe the IMI could support this, and maybe we can insert in the proposal during the negotiation if you think it's appropriate.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, honestly, we already discussed about that internally. I mean, within the EFPIA companies in that project, because you're definitely right. I mean, let's say at the end, the question is a different one, but all the mechanisms are, of course, the same. I mean, you would like to have an immune response. We would like to avoid an immune response. I mean, all the molecular basis behind and the knowledge behind is in principle the same. I mean, it's just going into a different direction at the end. But I agree. I mean, that would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. I'll look at other questions on the content of this topic. No, it seems that there are no other questions. So would you like to add anything to what you already presented, or to elaborate more on some parts of that, or I don't know. I mean, just if you think you may.
I mean, if there is not really questions, I mean, I have some backup slides explaining, an immune response is acting, but I think, most of you are aware, so I don't think we need to go through slides explaining how an immune response is. I was just having some backup slides if someone would ask me why T-cell epitopes, for example, and why not B-cell epitopes.
So then, if there are no other, specific questions, but they could come later also. Are there any questions that you would have liked to ask in the session this morning regarding IMI or the rules of IMI, since we have time? If you have any questions regarding the workflow projects, information that I could provide you here, since we have time. No? No, Aldo.
Yeah, I think it would be useful because it's useful for us, but also for the applicants to have the idea of the roadmap. That,
yes.
It's not for sure, but you have the time. Maybe you should inform the audience how long it's going to take.
Yes. There are several technical times, in fact. So we think that the topic and the call will be published very soon, hopefully next week. Very likely then the deadline for applying will be in the middle of January, around the 17th probably of January, and the evaluation is foreseen to be in February. Now, as Michelle said this morning, we'll have independent evaluators that we appoint for this. Of course, they are experts in the topic contents, and we will have also ethical. That will be actually in the second stage. In the first stage, so we receive the expression of interest. They will be evaluated, and then one of them, the one that will be ranked with the highest marks, will be invited to join the EFPIA consortium to form the full projects. And that will be after March, because in March we should have the results of the evaluation. The results have to be approved by the governing board, and once the approval has been done, then we will invite the winning consortium to join the EFPIA consortium. And for this, actually for this topic, the EFPIA companies, as you might have seen in the documents, are GlaxoSmithKline, Novartis, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Sanofi Aventis, Merck Serono, Novo Nordisk, and Bayer Schering Pharma. So as you see, there is in this case a big consortium, EFPIA consortium. So they will have indicatively 2 months and a half for discussion and for setting up the full project proposal. So at that time, during that time, then there will be the integration of the expertise of the original consortium that applied and the EFPIA consortium. So they will write the full project proposal, and the submission of the full project proposal will be before the summer. I don't know now we don't know the precise dates. The deadline will be in that period, and the evaluation will be very likely in July. And again, the evaluators will gather here in Brussels and to decide about the quality of the full project proposal. So also this step, which is the second stage, is a peer-reviewed it will be peerly reviewed also the full project proposal. And then there will be a consensus report will be written by the experts in which they express their judgment, and if they consider that the topic is eligible for funding, then they will give recommendations if they think that there should be some changes, some improvements, and so they make their comments and recommendations on this report. And then the report, and then the topics, the projects, the full project proposal that will be evaluated in this way, in a positive way. then has to be approved again by the governing board. And after that, the phase of negotiation of the project will start. And the negotiation phase is a period in which there is an interaction between IMI office and the coordinator of the consortium in order to implement those recommendations that have been done by the experts, and also all the financial parts will be reviewed in the sense that will be adapted if needed, and then after the negotiation is finished, then there will be the signature of the grant agreement. Now, during this period of negotiation, the consortium starts to work on a project agreement that, as you heard this morning, is a document in which the IP rules, but also the IP, agreements, but also the governance of the project and other agreements that the consortium, the participants will reach about the management and the development of the project. This document has to be prepared in that phase, in the negotiation phase, and before we will not be directly involved unless, we can support and give our, yeah? Okay, we can support you for, as Magali Poirot said this morning, for the IP rules. We can, provide our advices, but that document is a document that belongs really to the consortium, and that the consortium has to agree about. And the only thing is that IMI will make sure that this document is ready, signed by all the participants just before the grant agreement, so the contract between IMI and the consortium is signed. So this will be the workflow following this, following the project. Yeah. Yes.
I am Antonio Contestabile, University of Bologna, Italy. Mine is a general question. What kind of politics do you adopt to avoid conflict of interest? Between evaluator and applicants, and between evaluator and pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
As you may know, this is an important issue.
Yes, we are very careful to that, and we we appoint the evaluators with a legal procedure that foresees a declaration of lack of a conflict of interest, and so of course we also we try to select evaluators that may not be involved, but sometimes it can happen that, especially if the evaluators are from Europe, they may be involved in the projects, and in that case they have to sign this legal document about a possible conflict of interest. So we avoid this in that sense. There is probably Michelle Goldman wants to add something about. Sorry. Did I answer your question? Yes, I think.
The only point I was willing to add, because that's obviously a critical aspect also of our mission at the Executive Office, so I can tell you we take this extremely seriously, and that's the reason why actually we have a number of experts who are outside Europe. And if you would like to check how this operates, I would encourage you to look on your website. We have made public now the reports of the independent observers who were not evaluators. They were only there to follow the process during the week of evaluation. And I think there you will see a number of their remarks and also of their recommendations. So I think that, as Maria Teresa said, we really take our task in selecting the experts and making sure that the process is fair and transparent seriously. It was our main mission.
Yeah,